Welcome home. I'm Tamara Alicia, your host, and this is Soul Drops, a podcast dedicated to the expansion of the heart, mind, and soul, a safe place for reflection, healing, and self-understanding. Take a deep breath with me, and let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Soul Drops. I am your host, Tamara Alicia, and I'm so happy to be back. I'm so happy to be talking to you guys. So much so that I am recording the same episode twice because the file completely disappeared when I went to upload it to my platform that I use to manage my podcast episodes. So it is 1:36 a.m. and I am recording this again for the second time. So that's how much I miss y'all. That's how much I miss making content for y'all. That at almost 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm doing this again. So, yeah, so much has been going on, so much has happened, and I just want to give you guys a life update, and then we're going to hop into the topic of this evening or early morning, I should say. Um, so, the topic for today that we're going to be discussing is the art of receiving. And the life update that I'm going to give you all about what has been happening with me is directly tied to this lesson that I learned about receiving. And this episode is dedicated to a group of friends and my neighbor. Yes, my neighbor is also my friend, but this is just for them. If they're listening, they can, kind of differentiate. My group of friends know who they are, and my neighbor know who she is. So let's just dive into what's been happening with me first. So I know it's been I think 2 months to the date almost since I've uploaded any content. And so I'm just going to tell you guys straight up what has been going on with me. No sugarcoating, just everything. So back in March of this year, I I don't like saying, or I think it's incorrect to say I lost my job. What I will say is my job lost me, right? Um, and most of you don't know, unless you know me in real life, but I worked for a company that did government contracting, and my job was UI UX designer, so user experience, user interface designer. And with all of the many changes in this administration, you know, a lot of government contractors lost their job. A lot of people in general lost their job as a direct effect or trickle down effect of this administration. And I happen to be one of those people. So since then, I had received all of the things, the severance, I applied for unemployment, applied for all the services that I could because why? My tax dollars pay for them. And because I can, and that's my business. And so throughout this time, I went through a variation of emotions, not because tie my identity to my work or anything like that. That was never a reason, that was never a thing for me. But it was more so the financial aspect of going from making six figures to not making six figures, right? And so there came a time when during this period that I really, really was having some hardship. And, I was applying for a job, looking for a job. Still haven't found one yet, but that's not anything new because pretty much that's the market right now. But I was applying for the things, and nothing came through as of yet. And so I I have always been a person that prides myself on being independent, right? Um, doing everything on my own, being able to obtain everything on my own. Everything is in my own name, everything is mine, right? That's that's what I did. Miss Independent, that song by Neil, that was about me. It was. And so and so I didn't realize that that was actually a toxic trait that I had. And I say that it was a toxic trait that I had because it was inherited from trauma. And it was specifically inherited from generational trauma. So, just to give you guys a little backstory into that, and I've talked about my history and my upbringing with you all very transparently. But if I haven't brought up this moment, I'm going to bring it up now because it it helps you to connect the dots to understand why I was the way I was. And so, when I was younger, very young, I want to say about 10 years old. That's the earliest that I can remember. Um, I can remember these specific types of conversations, right? I remember being at home, and when you walked in the front door, there were like stairs that went upstairs. And so I can remember sitting kind of like at the top of the step and listening down to my mom and my grandma have conversations. And when I say conversations, I mean literally just my grandmother belittling my mother because she needed help. So I have a brother and a sister. So it was three of us growing up. My mom was a single parent. Neither one of our fathers were active in our lives. They didn't offer any type of support or anything like that. So not only was she parenting us alone, but she was also financially supporting us alone without any type of assistance from the biological fathers. And so, you know, she struggled. And that's the story of many single mothers that they struggle to make ends meet, right? And so, not all, but a majority, right? Because you're taking on the responsibility of 2 people. So, I can remember being 10 years old and, like, hearing my grandmother literally berate my mother, talk to her as if she was scum. And this was her own child, you know? This was her daughter, like someone that she carried and gave birth to, and she just talked to her like she was nothing. And even as a 10-year-old, I remember thinking, I will never give anybody the opportunity to talk to me like that. I will never give anybody the opportunity to make me feel so low. That'll never happen. And so, in my little mind, at 10 years old, I had made up in my mind that I would never ask anybody for anything, and I was gonna do it all on my own. That was that was the beginning of that particular type of trauma, right? That toxic hyper independence, and I wore that for literally up until a few months ago, literally as my freaking badge, like, this is me, you know what I mean? And so, it was always about me not asking anyone for anything because I would not ever give them the ability to throw it back in my face and say that they helped me. I would never give them the opportunity to say, "Oh, well, she needed me and she wasn't able to do it on her own," and be able to talk crap about me. That was not gonna happen. So I didn't ask anybody for anything. And I was never a selfish person though. I'm a giver. And so I have literally given someone the shoes off my feet. Like legit, they had holes in theirs and I took mine off and gave it to them and walked back to my car with no shoes on, just some socks. So I have always been the type of person that was Giving to me was like nothing. I have no issue with giving. I don't even think about it. And my issue was that I could not receive. But it didn't just stop with money. It was hard for me to receive physical affection. It was hard for me to receive compliments. And you know what? Maybe this is why I had to record this episode because I didn't even think about saying this stuff. Um, Literally, it just came to me just now that that receiving was just not hyper independence. It was also the reception of love, the reception of affection, the reception of help and tenderness and kindness because I did not experience those things. All of those things were viewed as weaknesses in my family. The expression of emotion was viewed as weakness. The expression of wanting and needing physical affection was expressed as weakness. This is not something that you want because this is something that people can use against you when they see that you desire it. So act like you have no feelings. Act like you don't have them because you're better off, because you're safer. If you cannot receive these things, if you cannot, if people cannot see that you need these things, that you need other people, right? And so I grew up like this. And it throughout my life has been kind of like my Achilles heel of not asking for help when I needed it. And so in this moment, right? When in that moment, excuse me, in that moment, like a few months ago, when I figured out that, hey, I'm drowning here, like I need help, right? I need help for days, y'all. For days, I went back and forth in my head like a freaking tennis match about if I should ask my friends, the friends that I talk about that are so supportive and so loving and so this and so that. I didn't want to bother them was saying that I needed help. But in the same breath, if they were to call me and say, "Oh, Myra, I need you to," I'm on it. You don't even have to finish the same sentence. Your sentence, I'm on it. I got you. I got you. Just that fast. I'm willing to help. I'm willing to drop the things that I'm doing or move things around in order to accommodate other people in my schedule because I love and care for them and I want to support them, right? And I want to be there for them. But yet I wouldn't, or I couldn't, or I felt like I couldn't allow people to hold that type of space for me in their lives, right? And so when I finally broke, right? When that shell was finally cracked, or when the universe decided to give me a 1-2, right? One across the jaw, one in the stomach, uh, I had no choice but to ask. And so I reached out to my friends in a group chat and I asked them if they could help me with money. And baby, that is something I never do. Like, literally, I have never asked a friend for money in my entire life. Not even when I was a teenager. Never has it happened ever. And I I cried, like I cried a lot when I was typing out that message because even typing out that message was it was cathartic. It was transformative. It was literally my trauma melting. It was breaking down. It was cracking. It could not stand up anymore. Like it was going down and it was going down fast. It was like when you see a match, like a boxing match, and the person is like getting hit and hit and hit, and they just kind of like wavering around and you just looking at them like, "Oh my god, when is that person gonna fall? Is it going are they gonna hit their head?" It's like that was my trauma at that point. It was trying to hold up. It was trying to still hold up, but Every word that I typed into that phone, it was just breaking down until I finally hit send. And that, whew, man, the weight of my thumb hitting that send button was like a ton of bricks hitting someone across the face, and they was just out for the count, right? And I was so afraid after I had sent that message that I just left my phone on my bed in my room and I just left out. I left out. And I didn't come back for a little while to look at my phone because I broke my own cardinal rule. I asked for help, and I asked for help with money, like with resources. And that was a no. Like, from the old Tamara, that was a no. And so I didn't know how to move forward from there. Did I think my friends would judge me? No. I never thought that because they're not those type of people, right? But did I worry that I was placing a burden on them? Did I worry that I was being troublesome or, like I just worried that I was being disappointing to them because how dare I need help? Like I'm not a freaking human being, right? And so the response back that I got from them was just, it was like if you're a person and you're drowning in the ocean and then you see that helicopter whirling over top of you and you see all those guys that just start jumping out and they on that little airlift thingy and you're like, thank God. Like, and you wasn't like, you knew that a rescue was coming, but then once it actually got there, it became real. I felt like they just swooped into action like that and, like, creating, like, this plan, and let's talk, and let's get on a chat, and how much you need, and you have what can we do? And it was just like, "What? What? This is crazy." Like, I didn't know what to expect, but I damn sure didn't expect that, right? I didn't expect the outpour of love and support and non-judgment, right? Like, I didn't think that they were gonna judge me, but also the fact that they didn't judge me was just mind-blowing to me because I part of me was still that 10-year-old little girl sitting on the step, hearing her mother be berated, right, for asking for help from the person who birthed her. And so it was just the most unbelievable, just mind even when I think about it now, it's just amazing. And to some people, it might not be anything. To some people, it might just be like, oh yeah, friends help friends out, right? But no, like it it was even now, like, I'm just at a loss for words as I'm trying to explain this to you guys. I can't really I don't really have the words to describe how I felt. And I read a lot, so I have a pretty good vocabulary, but it was just I I really can't describe it. It was astounding. It was astounding how quickly they jumped into action. And then when we had, like, this little I think it was, like, Zoom or WhatsApp or whatever, and we had a video call, and they were, just asking me questions and just trying to make sure I was okay and seeing what I needed, and as I was talking to them, I still had on, like, this facade of, "Everything is fine, I'm fine." Even though I had sent them this message that completely showed that I was not fine, right? And then it kind of crashed, and they were like, "Really, what's happening?" And I just I couldn't hold it together anymore, and I started crying on camera. And I find crying publicly to be cringe, not gonna lie. But not crying about, like, I'll cry about art. I'll cry I'll cry when I see, like, opera or plays or movies or, like, performances and stuff like that, like, anything that's creative or even art, like, if I'm at a gallery or something like that. But to cry about something that is not related to an art form, it's cringe. Was like it was a cringy feeling for me, but, I couldn't help it. And so I I talked to them and, they told me like, "Never do that again. You need to tell us what's going on because we're your friends. We love you. We're here. We support you. You would do the same for us. Don't be like that and you cannot do that." And, you know, that was a turning point for me, like a major turning point for me. And I needed that. I'm not going to lie. I needed that. I needed the deconstruction of my life to get past this trauma. You know what I mean? Like I needed that. And because this has been a constant in my life, even with all of the work that I have done, this has been a constant in my life. Is it that way anymore? No, it's not, right? Um But that's, like, when I say that's the reason, I mean, just, like, over this weekend, I had some major downloads that happened, and so things have just become the amount of clarity that I have right now is, oof, I feel like I'm just floating on a cloud, and so I, um, I I just I really needed this, and this brings me into, like, the topic, and I think I've kinda already gone into the topic with giving you guys the life update, is that the art of receiving was literally something that I had to learn how to do because it did not come natural to me by any means, and even after that event had happened with my friends, right, I still struggled. I still struggled with receiving. I would send them updates, being transparent about what was going on and being positive and all of these things, but I still needed help, you know what I'm saying? But I had already asked them for help, so I wasn't gonna ask them again. And I I had this feeling that I had to do more, like, I had to work through this, and I had to figure out why was it so hard for me to receive things, whether that receiving things meant help from friends, whether that receiving things meant physical affection, whether receiving things meant, um, other people being, um like, showing their love and complimenting me and receiving a compliment, right? To receive has always been a hard thing for me. And so I found myself falling back into being of service, right? So I stopped doing these podcasts because I felt as though I was not sure where I was in my life. And I needed to work through that. And I also needed to figure out what was going on with me, right? Like what's the real deal with um this thing that I have, this hyper independence that has turned into rancid toxicity that stops me from living a full life, stops me from having full interactions and relationships with people that I love and people that love me. And until I figured that out, I felt as though I could not be of service to the people that I listen to. But, you know, your purpose is your purpose, regardless of what you're going through. And so within that time that I wasn't uploading podcasts, I felt one day I just decided that I'm gonna start doing TikTok videos of tarot reading, right? I had never been on TikTok a day in my life. Didn't even have the app on my phone, right? Had no idea what it looked like, had no idea how to work it. And I damn sure didn't want to be in front of the camera, right? And so I don't know. It was just, I had this feeling that I should just do it. And so I started doing these readings. And the first one I did, I could remember feeling like I miss this feeling. I miss being of service to people. I miss giving, right? I miss sharing. I miss a community. And so that became a way that I could slowly integrate service back into my life while still trying to figure out what was going on with me. Because through these readings, I'm not speaking from my own perspective like I am with you guys. When I'm speaking with you guys, this is my perspective. This is where I'm coming from. These are my experiences, right? This is what I learned. But when I'm doing tarot, this is downloaded messages that I'm getting. These are not my thoughts. These are not, you know, granted, am I using my intuition and to pick up on things and interpret things? Yes, but majority this is not. These are downloaded messages that are coming through for someone else. Because a lot of things that I say, eh, there's there's no way for me to know these things other than them being divine messages that are meant for people, and the divine is just using me to channel this information through, right? So it's different. It's a different experience, and I'm speaking differently. But when I just felt like, hmm, this feels nice to be of service, and so I started doing it more and more. And then one day, I got this idea that I need to talk more. Like, I need to say something. I need it to be my voice. And I decided, okay, so whew, scary times. Let's turn the camera on me, right? Instead of my tarot cards. And let's just talk. Let's say what we want to say. And once I got past the point of recording my videos like 50 times over again, because I felt as though it had to be perfect. I got to the point where I just didn't give a damn. And I'm like, I am just going to show up as me, as my most authentic self. And the people that vibe with me, vibe with me. And the people that don't, don't. It's okay. And I found that the more unpolished my videos became, the more authentic interactions I was able to get with people, right? And it was never for the view count, the clicks, the likes, anything. This was just a way for me to be of service. And the more comfortable I got, and I started just like literally being me, the person that you guys listen to and hear, and I hope get a chuckle out of sometimes, that is the person that they started to see or that I started to make available for other people to see. And it started to really make me miss creating podcast episodes because I'm like, all right, this would be great for the podcast. This would be great to talk about. And so a few weeks ago, I believe like 2 weeks ago, I posted something on my social media about, oh, hey guys, I'm coming back to do an episode, da, 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 and then I never did it, right? And so it's just been in the back of my head, like, you gotta do it, you gotta do it, you gotta do it. And tonight, or yesterday rather, Saturday, hold on, what's today? Yeah, today's technically Tuesday. So Monday, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be the last thing I do before I go to bed. It's gonna get done. I don't care what time it is. And um, I just felt the desire to do it again. And one of my main things that I want to always keep in mind is spiritual integrity. And I've talked about this before. It's very important for me to be at the highest standards of spiritual integrity because I understand the impact of words, and I understand that a lot of stuff that I'm talking about is heavy information, like it's energetically heavy information. A lot of this is extremely vulnerable, and I know that the people that are listening to the content that I create can be in spaces that are tender. And so I want to always make sure that I move in a way that operates from the space of acceptance, non-judgment, love, respect, and integrity. And if I cannot do that, or if I feel like that something may, like throw me off from being like that, then I need to take a pause. And so a little while after, like my friends had helped me out, I I had a neighbor, or I have a neighbor rather, who I was talking to one day on the phone, and I I don't know how we got on the topic of money, but we got on the topic of money, and she ended up asking me if I needed money. Normally, old Tamira would have been like, "No, I'm fine. I don't need anything." But I think I was just like, "Yes. Yes, I actually, you know what? Yes, I actually do." And I remember before I could like really send back a rebuttal text message, like, "Actually, I'm fine." Something like that. She was at my front door with a check, like, literally, like, she came fast. And I remember taking it from her, and before I even opened it up to look at the amount of it, I remember I just started crying. I wouldn't care if that check was for $50. It was $50 that she didn't have to give me. And I started crying. And it wasn't about the money, it was about the fact that someone gave me something and didn't make me feel like I was useless or unworthy or lazy, or you know what I mean? Like she didn't make me feel any type of way. She just made me feel supported and like, oh, this is normal for, people to go through hardships and they need help. This is just like a normal thing. And I will never forget, she said to me, "You have to learn how to receive." And I lied to you guys not. Those words keep replaying in my head over and over and over and over again. And that's literally how I even came up with the title of this episode, The Art of Receiving, because of what she said. And every time I started to think about all of the reasons, or all of the kind of like things that I found hard to receive, it all tied back to how I was raised and how those things, the emotion, the love, the care, the tenderness, the affection, the support, right, was never given without there being some type of negative behavior or harmful intention set behind it. And because of that, I had closed myself off from receiving. And giving was the only option that I knew. And it made me go back, and it made me start thinking like I really needed to break this thing down. Like, where did it come from? How did I get it? How did my mom get it? How did my mother's mom get it? It became like this generational thing that I had to break down. And so I decided that I was gonna have a conversation with my mom, and I've already told you guys about my relationship with my mother. I'm very transparent about that. Like, we're not close. We don't have a mother-daughter relationship. I talk to my mom and, I don't have any issues with her, but I would never say that we have a mother-daughter dynamic. Like, my mother is my mother because she gave birth to me and, we talk and I respect her, because she's a human being. But there's I don't feel like, "Oh, mommy," I don't feel that I don't have that. And I'm okay with that. I've accepted that years ago. I've accepted that this is my mom and she's a human being and she's flawed just like everyone else. But I don't have those lovey-dovey mommy feelings and that's fine. And but I had a conversation with my mom and I told her about how my friends helped me and my neighbor helped me. And I told her about how seeing my grandmother talked to her like that when I was 10 years old created this deep hatred of asking for help within me, and how that almost destroyed me. And she told me the reason why she allowed my grandmother to talk to her like that is because she needed her. She needed her to be able to support us, basically. And she needed the help. And for us, she would deal with the disrespect and she would go through what she had to go through. And as a mother, like mother to mother, I understand doing what you have to do for your kids, right? But this is where we differ. I realized a long time ago, and maybe it was just because of the things that I witnessed, right? That it is just as important for your kids to see you standing up for yourself as it is for them to see you taking care of them. And what I mean is this. I told my mom, I can understand why you did that, but I also wish that you didn't because inadvertently you showed me that it is okay for someone to literally make you feel like you are lower than the dirt on the bottom of their shoes just for them to give you something. And so this trauma was going to be embedded in me one or two ways. Either I was going to be the type of person that allowed people to disrespect me in order to get something, or I was going to be the type of person that became hyper independent and thought, oh, no one's ever going, I'm never going to have to be able to ask anybody for anything. I'm never going to need anybody for anything because I got this and it's all on me. And if I can't get it myself, then it just ain't going to be like, I'm just never going to have it. It ain't meant to be. Right. And so I went with the latter. I went with the other option. And that's how I became. And I told her by her being that way, you also allowed me to witness y- the children like us. You allowed us to witness that. It's just like when you are a kid and you grow up in a house where there is physical abuse, you're either going to grow up to think, oh, I will never date anybody that will abuse me, right? Or you're going to grow up to think that abuse is acceptable, it's normal, right? Even though it's not. But it's like it's two extremes that I feel like the people either fall in. You either fall in the yays or the nays. And I fell in the nays, and I fell in the nays so much that I became super toxic in my hyper independence and my ability and my lack of not being able to receive. And so the reason why I dedicate this episode to my friends and my neighbor is not because they gave me something, right? In a monetary way. Even though I'm grateful for them for that. But They don't realize that they have broken a generational cycle. They have helped me to break a generational cycle. This is why I can't find the words to express the magnitude of what their kindness, their non judgment, their openness, their love, their willingness to help has done for me. It has been transformative for me. And I just, it leaves me in awe. It leaves me wordless. I mean, I really cannot describe it. And so over the past couple of days, I've been having like these major downloads and these major realizations that it has helped me to completely realize that it is okay to receive and that actually receiving is ingrained in nature, right? The idea of giving and receiving is a reciprocal action. It happens all the time. It happens in nature. It happens when we step outside we we breathe, you know? And the plants transform the carbon dioxide that we breathe into oxygen for us to have, right? That is a cyclical process that happens and is give and take. The sun helps food to grow, and then we, we eat that food. That is a process that happens, right? We enrich the soil, we dig and we, all of the things, and it's a cyclical process. The way the animals behave, animals eat other animals, etc., etc. That's a cyclical process, right? Give and take, give and take. Even the ways that the seas operates and the sea creatures in the ocean, cyclical process, right? And so for me to think that I'm supposed to be a mighty island and do everything on my own is preposterous, and that I am not supposed to receive is preposterous because I damn sure give without any consideration of me getting anything back, of me. I never give with the intent of receiving anything back, right? But receiving has always been my struggle point. And so throughout these downloads that I've been having recently, it also brought up the struggle that I had with receiving for spiritual services, right? I always struggled with the idea of charging people for the spiritual gifts that I have. If I want to do a tarot reading and um for someone and feeling bad about saying that, okay, there's a charge or whatever, or a donation, or feeling like I I can do an intuitive reading for someone or coaching for someone and feeling bad about charging them for that. And so that was also something that I had to learn how to get past, and I had to learn how to receive, and realizing that receiving is as much as an energy as giving is an energy. And so it's just in a different form. So when I give someone and I share with them my spiritual gifts, right? And that takes my time and my energy. That time and energy, I mean, it's a universal law. I am mhm, I'm being compensated for that energy that I am expending, and it just so happens that that energy compensation is happening through the energy and the transmutation of money, right? And so I'm getting that back as payment for my energy. It's energy being exchanged for energy. It's just the energies are different, right? Because the value that I am providing to them, to my client, in a reading and a tarot reading and an astrological reading and a one-on-one coaching session can be transformative to their life, can completely change their life. And then their energy exchange for me is, money. So it's an equal exchange. It's energy for energy. And until I figured this out literally just a couple days ago, y'all, I was still kind of on the fence about receiving. And so that idea or that statement that my neighbor said to me about you have to learn how to receive, that lives in my brain now. So if I need help now, I feel no shame in saying that shit. Hey, I need help. Can you help me out? I feel no shame in receiving affection. I feel no shame in receiving love. I feel no shame in receiving in general, right? It's an exchange of energy, the same as giving. It's an exchange of energy. It's cyclical, it's natural. And many of us are taught to be, independent and not to rely on anybody and not to, community is weakness and interdependence is weakness. And maybe that's also too why I consistently search for community because I wanted people that I could rely on. I wanted people that I can depend on. My soul was yearning for that, but I just didn't have the vocabulary for it or I was afraid to say it. And I know that everything happens for a reason, whether we understand it at the time or whether we don't. And I know that one of the reasons or one of the lessons that I have learned and that I will cherish for this particular season of my life when I am no longer employed with that company is that it allowed me to heal this trauma that I have been walking around with since I was 10 years old. And I am forever grateful for having the experience, right, to learn this lesson and to be able to get rid of this trauma and not pass it down to my children because my children have no shame in asking for anything from anybody. And so they don't struggle with hyper independence, thank God. And so I didn't pass that down to them. But I know that by telling my mom that, that also healed her. That also was healing for her to hear how her actions impacted me, and then my friend's actions impacted me, which actually healed me, which allowed me to pass that healing information to her. This was a full circle moment. And I am just so grateful for the experience. And along with all of the other lessons that I have learned and that I am going to talk about with you guys because, honey, we got some things to talk about. I got some topics to discuss with you guys because a lot has been happening, especially over the past 2 days. And I have mostly been posting to like my TikTok and my YouTube channel. But there are certain topics that I just saved for you guys that I want to talk about, and I'm going to be recording. I was going to say tomorrow, but actually it's later today to post for Wednesday so that I can get back on my regular schedule of posting on Wednesdays and Sundays. But I have some things to talk to y'all about that I have been experiencing and that I have cleared out, and I'm so happy to be back. I'm so happy to be recording again. And I cannot wait to dive deeper into more topics with you all. And I'm so grateful for all of the people that listen to me. And I hope that you didn't think that I just rambled throughout this episode because I felt like I really just talked, right? I'm just catching up with you guys, letting you know what's going on, letting you know, the trauma and all of these things, all of these healing things that have occurred. But girl, boy, so much has occurred, and I got to tell y'all so much, and I am totally looking forward to it. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning into Soul Drops. I'm your host, Tamara Alicia, and I will talk to you guys on Wednesday. In the description, I'm going to include my socials so you can see what I have been up to lately while I wasn't doing the podcast. You can follow me on TikTok, you can follow me on Instagram, you can follow me on YouTube as well because your girl started a YouTube channel. And yeah, I'm just so excited to be back and I cannot wait till the next episode. Bye.